Carol Burnett is here. She has won 6 Emmy Awards, 5 Golden Globes, a Peabody, and a Tony. From 1967 to 1978, The Carol Burnett Show was one of the most popular shows on television. Here is a look.
Very thrilled to have someone like you with such a beautiful voice. I think it's going, oh, God.
I am an actress. A silent screen actress. You see, in those days, we didn't need jokes. We didn't need dialogue. We had faces.
Mommy, guess what?
What?
I only have one cavity.
That's good news. I don't have any kids.
Okay, Jack and Helen, go.
Automobile.
Tires.
Motor.
Power.
Combustion.
Heat.
Spark.
Backseat.
Drive.
Crazy.
Trunk.
Jack.
Helen.
Darling. Balls. When little Philip comes to you and he says, Mama, I want to be a painter. You said, here, precious darling, here's a paint kit. And then when he comes to you and he says, Mama, I want to be a writer. You said, here, precious darling, here's a typewriter. But when I come to you and I say, I want to be a ballerina, I just get the horse laugh from you.
Ho, ho, ho! You really think you could do that to me and get away with it, you wretched creature?
And before you know it, comes a time we have to say so long. Good night. Thank you.
Carol Burnett's new book is called This Time Together, Laughter and Reflection. I'm very pleased to have her here at this table.
Thank
Welcome.
you, Charlie. Thank you.
Show business has been very good to you.
Yes, it has.
Yeah. How did it start?
Well, actually, I started out wanting to be a writer.
Yeah. Your mother said something about writing, didn't she?
Yes, she did. She said, look, keep up with the writing, because no matter what you look like, you can always write.
And you were a bit hurt.
I just kind of, she didn't really mean it in a bad way. It was just being very practical.
Right.
So that was kind of an imprint, I must say, you know, on a kid. But it didn't deter me. What happened was I went to UCLA to major in journalism. Or I wanted to be a writer, and so I found out once I got there they didn't have a school of journalism. So I majored in theater arts English, which meant you could get all the playwriting courses and other writing courses, but when you were a freshman in any kind of the theater arts department, you had to take acting. And so I was very nervous about it, and I had to take this acting course, and I was given this one act to do, and little one act that was written by a fellow student, and it was about a hillbilly family. And at one point I just had a couple of lines, and I came out and said the lines, and everybody laughed. And I thought, I like this.
Oh my God,
I like this feeling. So I really kind of switched over. I didn't tell my mother or my grandmother that I was really now going to concentrate on being an actress. And the bug bit. And I felt I'd always been kind of a nerd in high school, and I was an editor of the school paper, a good student, very quiet. But this released me because some of the top seniors in the department would come over and say, hey, we liked you in that play, and we saw it, and everything.
So it was natural.
And it just made me feel wanted. And I loved
You grew up in what part of Los Angeles?
Hollywood.
So right in Hollywood.
But a million miles away.
From the idea of
From
Hollywood.
We lived a block north of Hollywood Boulevard.
How did you get to New York?
Well, I was at UCLA, and I was taking a course called the Opera Workshop / Musical Comedy.
Right.
And I always used to sing with my mother and my grandmother around the table. They'd play the ukulele and everything. And so I could sing, and then I started to really belt. Belt out big tunes, and so I took this Opera Workshop musical comedy class, and there was a party that was going to be given for our professor in San Diego in his honor, and he talked to the 9 of us in the class because we were going to do scenes for our final exam. And he said, you guys come on down to the party, be the entertainment, and I'll grade you there, you know. So we all went down. I did a scene for Manny, Get Your Gun. And I remember afterwards I went to the hors d'oeuvre table and I opened my purse and I put stealing hors d'oeuvres to take home to my grandmother. Yeah, you know, so I'm doing this and there's a tap on my shoulder.
Oh my
and I thought, I'm busted. You know, and so I turned around and there was this gentleman in a tuxedo with his wife, all very nice, and he said, well, we really liked you a lot in that scene, that little sketch you did. That's, you know, and I said, well, thank you. And he said, what do you want to do with your life? I said, well, someday I'd love to go to New York and be on Broadway, you know, my Ethel Merman, Mary Martin.
You like musical comedy.
Well, I loved it.
Right.
And he said, well, why aren't you there now? And I said, well, you know, I'm hoping to get there, but I can't afford it yet. And he said, well, I'll lend you the money. And I thought, well, he's knocked back a few too many champagnes, and yeah, thank you. He said, no, here's my card. Call me and come down and see me in a week, and I'll lend you the money. So I did. Went down. He was in the construction business and very, very wealthy, and I went to his office, and there he was behind this huge, big desk. And he said, come on, now you really want to do this? And I said, yes, sir. He said, okay, here's the deal. I'm going to lend you the money to go to New York. And there are stipulations with this. 1, you pay it back within 5 years, no interest, if you can. 2, you never reveal my name. 3, you use this money to go to New York on. I'm not giving it to you for anything else. And 4, you must help others out if you are successful.
And you did.
I went to New York. Came to New York. Yeah.
Good for you. So you came to New York and you worked, and you had some friends and you started creating skits, right?
Well, actually, I lived at the rehearsal club.
Right.
I don't know if you ever heard of that, but Stage Door was written about it. It was for young ladies. It was a townhouse that housed about 25 young ladies interested in the theater. It was terrific for us because it was only $18 a week, room and board. And it was sponsored by some society ladies, so, you know, underwritten. And I got a part-time job as a hat check girl in a ladies' tea room. Well, that's how bright I was, right? How many ladies check their hats? So, but it was around Christmas time, so I was able to check the packages, and I would average about $30 a week, and then the room and board, and then that left me $12 to squander, you know. And I wanted to get an agent. I mean, every time I would go to an agent or something, he'd say, "Let me know when you're in something." I said, well, how do I get in something unless I have an agent? And this one agent said, go put on your own show. I said, oh, see, I was raised on Mickey and Judy movies.
Yes.
Like, you know, put your show on in a barn and then it's going to go to Broadway, right? So I went home to the rehearsal club and I called a meeting of all of the girls there. And I said, girls, I got in, I saw an agent today, and he said we should put on our own show. Well, some of the older girls said, yeah, you know, and they left. But there were a few of us left, and we wrote and produced our own little musical comedy review called the Rehearsal Club Review. And we sent invitations out to on penny postcards to every agent, producer, and director, and so forth in town. I said, this is your ticket. And the ladies who sponsored the club gave us $200 so that we could rent the Carl Fisher Concert Hall for 2 nights in a row and do our show. It was a glorified audition. And you know, a lot of agents and
you got an agent.
And I got an agent out of it.